Hey everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back for FSI DFS, and I will be breaking down the evening slate, the main slate for July 1st. Yes, we're July. We're almost halfway through the baseball season already. McKinley 412 will have the early slate, so if you're looking for that information, pause this video, go to our channel, check that out, and then come on back and we'll have the nighttime information in. So you can see by how I changed up the background, tonight is going to be a very difficult slate. Out of the 7-game slate, 5 games have a chance of rain over 40%. So this is not a set it or forget it slate. This is a slate kind of like NBA where you're going to have to be paying attention up to lock and possibly after that for news that comes out to make sure that your players are actually going to play tonight. So let's go through game by game as if they're playing. And then at the end, I'll give you my stacks and we'll go through some lineup constructions and hopefully something that we talk about will happen. First game is going to be the Dodgers and the Nationals. This is probably the game that has the highest chance of being rained out. The chance of rain in this one early on is in like 88% up to like first pitch, and then it's still in the 60s. So I don't know if this one's going to play or not. If this game does play, then Corbin is okay for a pitcher, even against these Dodgers. There's not many choices. Dodgers bats, of course, if you want to play them, Bellinger still is way too cheap at 3.7. I know he's not hitting as well as he has, but still, he just has the potential. Washington could be a little bit banged up here, so Goslin, I think, would be a GPP flyer, but there's so many other plays I'd rather play over him. Schwarber is on absolute fire. Another home run yesterday, 5.5, but Turner's a little banged up. Soto might not be in the lineup. So this Washington stack, if this game does play, I don't really fear Goslin against them. Dodgers bullpen is another story, but there could be some very cheap bats here, and it can make a possibly value stack for you. Next game is Milwaukee, who definitely lit up Jake Arrieta and ruined my early slate cash. We have Burns against Will Crow. I think Burns is probably the second best pitcher on the slate, so I think you're going to see him as a lot of people's SP2 if people are paying up for both of them. Will Crow is not a great pitcher. Milwaukee has been quiet at times with the bats, but I mean, Yelich has just completely fallen off to be an average player. I don't know if there's like injuries have caught up to him or what it is, but he just doesn't seem like the same one. But he still has some potential, kind of like Bellinger. So I'm okay with if you want to stack Milwaukee here. 4.63 totals fair. They're pretty high favorite. I would not touch Pittsburgh. They went to Coors. They scored, I believe, 2 runs in 3 games. They are almost no hit, and this team is just very bad. They go back to Pittsburgh. The weather isn't going to be an issue here. They're up against a really good pitcher, and they couldn't hit at Coors. And they say that your timing's off a little bit. The road team, the first game out of Coors, so 2.87 total. I'm just not touching Pittsburgh. Not even a YOLO stack today. Next game is Cincinnati and San Diego. You got 2 really good offenses here in the Great American Small Park. Weathers from San Diego is definitely someone that can get hit. Castillo, he's Jekyll and Hyde. He's been better recently. He was horrible early in the season, so I don't know. It's one of the things that could go either way. 9K for your SP2. Depending if a bunch of games are rained out, it might be a necessity. He might be the best guy left, the only girl left at the dance without a partner. We'll have to see what happens there. So he's playable against the Padres. There are some Ks in this lineup, but he might give up 3 or 4 home runs, but get like 9 or 10 Ks. So hopefully it all washes in the end if you do play him, and he's one of the few choices that you have to play. Weathers I would avoid. San Diego offense, I'm okay playing. I think they'd be my 4th favorite top stack, and then Cincinnati I think would be number 3. I like them in this matchup versus Weathers. Then San Diego versus Castillo. But the total's completely the same, 4.5. So if either one of these work, if you want to stack both in GPP, no problem, absolutely with that. Now we have a game where the weather is not a factor. Houston and the Cleveland Indians. Valdez, he's an average pitcher. He just doesn't have K upside, so he can probably get a bunch of ground and fly balls and get through some clean innings and eat up some innings. But he's not gonna strike a bunch of guys out. So at almost 10K, you're paying a lot for not having some strikeouts. So I'd rather take a cheaper pitcher in a more volatile situation than a guy that might get a win and only score maybe 14 or 15 DK points. When you get close to 10K, you need like probably at least 20, 25 points from your pitcher, and I just don't see him getting there. Astros bats are definitely in play here. Mayoda's JC is a young pitcher, definitely hittable. So like them, 4.88 total. I know they weren't as good as they could have been last night, and there have been a couple nights they've let people down, but it's still, I think they are definitely probably an elite option here on this slate. They'd be my second favorite stack overall. Cleveland, since Valdez is kind of a vanilla pitcher, I don't really love them. I think I usually take, like, when I do my rankings, I do 4 top stacks and 4 GPP stacks. They would be the bottom of the GPP stacks. They're cheap. Jose Ramirez, I think he got hit by a pitch, so I don't know if he'll be in or not. Hopefully he's okay. But he's really the only one to fear here. Bobby Bradley's cooled off a lot. So there's a lot of cheap pieces if you need some one-offs. I don't hate here, but it's either stack or pretty much here. Or if you're like need a punt or so and the guy's just in your price range, he's better than anybody else, and I'm fine there. Mets and Braves, another game that could possibly almost has a 50% chance of rain, but it's Atlantic. It's hot down there. It could rain and then clear up and be fine, or the rain could keep on popping up left and right and just completely ruin this game. So you have Jacob deGrom. He has had struggles recently with injuries. He was up to like 6 innings last time, so I think he's getting stretched out again. I think he'll be fine against the Braves. I know they're a decent offense, but deGrom, when he's on, is matchup proof, so I'm fine with him. Ian Anderson on the other side. I think there's some, like I think it was the Cubs and the Brewers the other night where I just stacked both pitchers in the same game just because of lack of options. I think Ian Anderson might be my favorite SP2 on the slate if I'm not paying up for Burns. I just at 7-1, this Mets team is getting back, but they're not like elite. They have a 3.67 run total here. I know he probably won't get the win, but then again, like, how many of the pitchers on the slate are a guaranteed win? Maybe like 1 or 2. So I'm not really factoring that into my decision. I think, if you're looking for some really cheap contrarian YOLO stacks, like the Mets against Anderson, if he is going to be popular, SP2 for leverage works. And I think the ultimate YOLO stack is if you don't think deGrom's right, or like with the rain that goes like an inning and there's spaces, and then they go up against the Mets bullpen, who the Mets gave up 20 runs yesterday. Okay. That was just amazing. So it's like pretty much anybody with an A, whose last name started with an A that was in the Braves lineup got to hit a home run last night. There's like 4 of them. And like Peterson, I thought he was a decent pitcher. That's why I didn't play too many Braves. I had him in some GPP stacks, and unfortunately the other pieces of those stacks were complete garbage. So they cashed for me, but it wasn't that much. I think overall for the whole night with Nola not being where he was, the White Sox helped me out a lot. CC was decent as an SP2 in a lot of my lineups. So I think I made like 15, 20% over what I put in. So it was it was more than a little bit of minimum profit night. But these Braves, like, I did not see that coming, but it was mostly, there was 3 bullpen arms that gave up most of the runs. The opener, or the starting pitcher, Peterson, gave up 6. But the other relievers gave up 14. So it's not like they used the whole bullpen on them, but this bullpen is not great. So if deGrom doesn't go that far, or DeGrom goes, 6 innings, and then they get a couple turns against the bullpen and light them up, then Atlanta is an intriguing stack. GPP only, definitely not in cash. Um, if you wanted to like get a little bit cute, then maybe mix in with another stacks like some of the bottom guys in the order, like Amonte, like Swanson, Riley. They're pretty reasonably priced. So some ways to go there, just for leverage. Looking for anything on the slate to differentiate, especially if it goes from 7 games down to like a 3, 4, 5 game slate. Okay, Coors Field on the slate. Rockies, Cardinals. Cardinals first game there are not priced up where they should be. The highest priced guy is Mr. Revenge Game, Nolan Arenado at 5.5. Everybody else is 4.5 or below. I guess Edmonds is 4.7. So, but definitely very reasonably priced. Adam Wainwright, I think he's in the discussion for pitching. Rockies have struggled a little bit. They don't really have many left-handed batters that they can throw out there, like Tapia, Blackman, McMahon, Noonan as catcher. But other than that, I think he's serviceable. I'm not chomping at the bit to play him, but if we lose a bunch of games and this game actually plays, where this one has about a 60% chance of rain, then but then again, in Colorado, like sometimes you see the chances of rain really high, and they end up playing through it or whatever. So, Cardinals, I think they're my favorite stack here if this game plays. I love the pricing on it. Senzel is not a good pitcher, even though they're predominantly right-handed. I think he gives up both sides of the plate, so go ahead with them. Rockies, I think are more of a GPP stack. I think I'd rather take some of the other ones we talked about: St. Louis, Houston, Cincinnati, San Diego over them. Um, but they're in Coors. They have a 5.41 total, so I have no problem if you take pieces here, stack them, especially Nunez as a catcher. If he starts at 2-3, I think that's where I'm going to probably lock in my catcher for the evening. Final game is the Giants and the Diamondbacks. Johnny Cueto's having an okay season. He did have one game against the Diamondbacks at the Diamondbacks, and he only put up like single DK points, but he's been decent recently. Merrill Kelly is okay. They could throw out a strong lefty lineup against him, which kind of concerns me. So I do like Cueto as an SP2 here, but I'd rather save the 200 and maybe take Anderson. But there's no weather in this game, so he might be by de facto the SP2 if everybody else kind of gets rained out or is questionable, or we have delays. We don't know if like the pitcher's going to go out for a little bit and it's going to rain again, and then they're just going to get yanked early, and then they'll finish the game without him. So Cueto definitely an option against this Arizona team. I like in GPPs. Lefty San Francisco bats on definitely a stack or some one-offs here. And Arizona, if you want a cheap stack, I'm okay with them. I think I'm going to finish out the week playing them here and then call it quits. Just take my $100 profit from playing them for 21 straight days and walk away. It's not as fun anymore. So I think that pretty much breaks down the slate. So obviously DeGrom, Burns, your top pitcher. Valdez would be next, and Castillo would be GPP against the Padres. In the medium range, Corbin I like, but with the rain, there's concern there. Ian Anderson's my favorite mid-range guy. Wainwright, I think, is in the question. And then Cueto, I think, is definitely someone that we can look at too if Anderson's not available because of rain. And then Gosselin might only get you 4 innings, but I highly doubt that game plays, so why even talk about him? Stacks, like I said, St. Louis and Coors, number 1. Hopefully that game plays. If not, Houston, there's no weather there, so they're definitely one that just will play tonight. Cincinnati and San Diego, like the Cincinnati side, a little bit more against that pitching matchup, but both I can see playing. Dodgers, that game's they're my top GPP stack only because I'm not sure if that game's going to play, and Corbin has been okay recently. Colorado would be next, struggle a little bit. Wainwright's a decent pitcher. San Francisco against Kelly, and then Cleveland would be my 4th GPP stack. And then for the just really cheap ones, Milwaukee, the Mets, Arizona, and Atlanta would be the ultimate YOLO stack. Going up against DeGrom if you want leverage, if you don't think he's going to make it far into the game or that rain's going to pull him out and the they'll get the Mets bullpen. So looking at roster construction, if you do decide to play Burns and DeGrom, that is going to leave you $3,662 per player. If you lock in a 2.3 catcher like Nunez, that gives you a couple options. I think there's like a guy that's like 2.4 range above him. Castro at 2.2 is below him if you need. So there's about 3 guys in that range that you can use if you're punting catcher. I'm going to go St. Louis. So I'm going to put Goldschmidt and Arenado, Carlson, and O'Neill. At that point, you might only want to make it a 4-man stack because, like, if you try to put in Edmonds in there, that's only going to give you like 2.2. There's not a shortstop that you can find that might be starting that you can punt the outfield spot. That's no problem. You can find a 2K guy there, but you're not going to be able to get up to a starting shortstop, even if in the punt range, unless somebody that's projected to play is out and like a real cheap guy appears. So that's the only way to really get that full stack in there. Noonbar, if he plays 2-7, he's got the splits matchup. I'd take him, or take DeJong as the shortstop there, and then you'll be able to punt second and outfield if you want to get the full 5-man stack in there with Burns. If you drop down to Anderson, it's a little bit easier. You can get the full stack in with some punts, or if you just go with the 3 guys or the 4 guy, like I said, Goldschmidt, Carlson, O'Neill, and Arenado, you can get in a Milwaukee stack, you can get in a Dodger stack, you can get in a Cleveland stack. The Milwaukee stack, you need like a 2K or 2-1 catcher, so that's a little bit more difficult, but there's definitely some places to play here. So again, you're really gonna have to watch the weather. You're really gonna have to pay attention. If things get completely, botched up and like 3 or 4 games get canceled, then just go back to rewind a little bit and go back to the stacks I listed in order and just start plugging them in. I think like Houston definitely has a chance to play. So Houston, if it turns into like, if you want the safest thing on the slate, it's going to be Valdez and Cueto. Take a Houston stack and San Francisco stack. And then if you need some one-off pieces from Cleveland and Arizona, I said that is the safest thing that you can do on the slate if you don't want to worry about rain. So thanks for watching. Leave us some comments below. Please subscribe to our channel. Give us a like. Reach out to me on Twitter at MegaRuler31 if you have any questions. And we'll see you next time.